Hey guys, so today I'm going to share why we still celebrate our fake anniversary. Every year for our summer anniversary, I make waffles. And I learned early on that a good waffle mix for Caleb includes a noticeable dose of vanilla. He's going to ask if I've added it anyway, and to be fair, it does make for a much better waffle mix. Some years I add fruit like blueberries or strawberries. This year I am just doing a simple new waffle base recipe. Now you might wonder why the tradition of waffles every year for a summer anniversary. And that goes back to the first anniversary that we celebrated this day together, where Caleb's gift to me was this waffle press, which I was incredibly humored by. Now, I was humored by the waffle press because Caleb is the waffle fanatic in the family. And the humor came from he bought me this gift of the press in order to make him waffles, which I still find a little funny. But I also know that it came from a good place of just wanting to enjoy breakfast together and sharing each of our individual certain preferences or what we like about breakfast and how we merged together early on in our relationship. So every year on this day, I get up, I put together a waffle batter, I let it sit, I make other breakfast things, put together coffee, and then I just make a big stack of pancakes for Caleb. The dogs get a few, and we get on our way. Hey guys, I'm Pätrick, and I want to talk a little bit about our relationship history. Where Caleb and I actually met was a city where neither of us were living at the time. We were just temporarily visiting throughout the summer. It became one of those situations where we exchanged contact information and we started talking, and then we never really stopped talking. And I knew that there was something special about this guy. He was handsome and charismatic. He was just a lot of positive things on my list that I look for, well, what I used to look for in a partner. So I will say that after we met, I went back to New York, and then he was supposed to go back to upstate New York where he was finishing grad school, and we just kept talking. Like, I knew this guy was worth more than, like, I remember back being single, and it's like some guys couldn't be bothered to meet you out a couple blocks away from their apartment, and there was something about Caleb that he was worth moving mountain to connect with again. So from when we first met to when he was returning to New York, it was roughly 6 weeks or something, but I knew I had to see him in person again before those 6 weeks. So we kept talking, we were constantly texting back and forth, and we had nightly phone calls. There was all these talks about sleepovers and cuddles, and he sort of wooed me with this whole like spooning nonsense. Not nonsense, love sense. I had to see him before school, like it was just too long for 6 weeks. So I ended up making a point for a business type of interaction to go back to that city. To make a long story short, I went back out to that city and we met again. I knew it was going to be a few more weeks since I would see him the next time in his upstate grad school apartment, but to bide that time, I brought him one of my favorite softball t-shirts, and it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you can wear this, think of me. And so on the day that I gave him this t-shirt, it was sort of my message of, you are worth it, you are somebody who I can see as being my person, and I'm in it to see where things go with you. And it was super exciting. It was a pivotal moment for me in the idea that I felt that I had met somebody who was ready for something serious, something with depth, something with levity as well, just like the complexity of navigating life in a partnership. And he like dinged all these bells. So on this date that I exchanged this t-shirt, I sort of look at that as the date that we had a conversation tradition around things too, about we weren't talking or seeing anybody else. And again, we were just so infatuated with constantly texting each other, and it felt super great at the time. And then became the next couple weeks where he moved back, and then we did a long distance back and forth, and we spent a lot of our time exploring city parks and staying in crappy hotels and just getting to know each other with sort of like this transient, we're constantly away from our home type of lifestyle, but we were away from our homes together. It just felt like a super magical transition from I met this guy in passing to it's clear that I'm into you and I want to explore things with you even more and exclusively, to transition into a lot of autumn traditions where in hindsight we were so spontaneous with how we got to know each other throughout the end of the summer that we never really made traditions out of it, because it was spontaneous. We were constantly trying to, what's the next excuse that we were going to see each other next? What were we going to do whenever we were going to connect or where we were going to connect? But in the autumn, when things were really coming together, that's when a lot of our traditions were born. But moving forward in the years since, we don't really have a whole lot of highlights or traditions in the summertime. The only thing that I really think of when I think of like a summer tradition between Caleb and I is this fake anniversary of I gave you this t-shirt because I'm serious about you and I want to know if you're serious about me. Are you interested in this t-shirt to think about me, because you can't hold me at night, but you can physically hold this t-shirt, blah, 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 super sappy. So I guess the question is, why is this type of thing important in personal growth? I will say there's probably a couple reasons for this. In personal growth, you're constantly looking for anchors or places for stability, and stability can come from a lot of different things, but emotional support, emotional security, and emotional safety, those things come from defining periods together, or traditions, or reoccurring things that you do together. So it might not be a tradition that's based on a date, but it just might be a tradition of an activity. Like every year, roughly around this time, we do this, or just every year we do this at some point, or we connect on this level for nostalgia, to think about how we've grown together from the first time we did this to us doing it now. And I think those moments are important to reflect on. So to look forward to this at the end of July every year, as I know that this is sort of the turning point. I'm really serious about you. Are you serious about me? You are? Okay, great. That's when the seed of this emotional safety and security was essentially planted. And I would say that that is a great thing to use as an anchor to have that emotional security wrapped around this particular date. It's something to look forward to as you're actively trying to grow, become a more confident, self-serving, to also serve others at the same time type of self-betterment, self-improvement, self-growth. I keep talking about self-growth a lot. But when you also think of things like healing from trauma and resilience, those things come out. Part of how that process works for some people is growing into a comfort and a confidence with your self-identity. And for me, a good part of my identity over the last 9, almost 10 years is I've been Caleb's partner. So to reflect on these traditions of us together, it's helping to preserve and strengthen that sense of identity for myself. I just want to add that for me, traditions also help in serving to dial into nostalgia and a feeling of comfort, feeling of engagement with the personal self, feeling like you belong with where you are, and that fulfillment comes from within, but it's also added level when you share it with other people around you, which is why tradition it's important to me. I think that there's an opportunity for more people to realize that dialing into your different sectors of how you identify as your character and essentially your makeup as a person, it's important to strengthen and support those different identities, because essentially they are woven together to make up the fabric of you. So for me, there is an importance to celebrate the this moment. So for me, that's why this fake anniversary day is important to celebrate year after year. It's something that was a date in many years ago that began a life path of personal growth with somebody else. It spawned a new column or pillar of the identity that makes up the person of who I am. When you think about feeling whole and secure and confident, reflecting on all your pillars in life is important. Whether it was the first year where we followed waterfalls and summited mountains to have breathtaking views, or the year that I surprised Caleb with a beach picnic, or there was the year that we spent the day kayaking, or being completely silly and having an afternoon that involved some log rolling. We try to always get out to do something in nature together to celebrate our fake anniversary. But let me know how you guys handle your personal growth traditions. Do you base it off of a certain day of the year, a season of the year, at some point during the year? Is it just spontaneous? It happens multiple times whenever you connect with a certain person or when you pass by a certain area or town. Do you associate certain traditions with other people, or something that you do for yourself year after year as far as maybe a self-care tradition? I'd like to see how everyone looks at this topic a little differently. Let me know in the comments down below. So that's my little share about why we celebrate our fake anniversary and why I make waffles. Remember to grow from where you are. I'll share more with you soon. Tschüss.
Okay, we're gonna race to the stump where the camera is.